Welcome to the BEASTwriter family, where social media engagement is encouraged. I am your host, Ryan Sakamoto, and we are back on this Throwback Thursday, and we're going to be discussing the 2022 NFL Draft. We're going to talk about what the San Francisco 49ers are going to do at pick number 61. We're also going to double down on those gains and talk about what the Las Vegas Raiders are going to do, because they also don't hold a first-round pick, and they had, I believe, the 86th pick overall in the third round. So I just want to say, for everyone that was watching yesterday's live stream, thank you for everyone that was tuning in. It was a huge success, and literally Marcel loved it. I know I loved it. His whole family loved it. So yeah, man, Marcel Dante is the real deal, man. I really think he has a shot. He wouldn't be on the show if I didn't think he had it. And it's surprising how you just watch the Stanford game, and he only touches the ball 4 times in the backfield, and 2 of those going for scores. One of them was a 76-yard touchdown. So interesting to point out the little things that you see when I talk about the NFL traits and what running backs can do in any given offense. And again, he's not a one-trick pony. You saw the highlights yesterday. We can catch the ball out of the backfield, and he can turn a 5-yard swing pass into a 15-yard gain. So a lot of good things that I saw from Marcel Dante. You guys saw what I was talking about. He spoke about the vision that he likes, so that he thought was a skill set that was maybe his best asset. So that was interesting. And that was good stuff. So we're going to continue with the 2022 NFL Draft prospects. So be sure to turn on and flip on the bell notification so you guys get notified when we go ahead and do that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get to some of your questions on social media. I have my tabs up. There's a lot of questions in regards to what the 49ers are going to do at pick number 61. Question was brought up yesterday. Are they going to go edge rusher, or are they going to go cornerback? And I'm like, well, you can't really determine that without knowing what the dynamics of the other 31 other NFL teams are going to do, right? So you can't really say, well, let's just throw a dart and like, hopefully that guy is going to be there when they're on the clock. No, man, like you have to run your mock draft. You have to actually know what the other 31 other NFL teams are doing. Luckily, I have you covered, right? That's what I do. That's why I watch 70 hours of game film, not just from now because it's off season. I mean, if you go back to my grades last year, I mean, you're looking at 2 years body of work on these players, and then also knowing how GMs and scouting departments work for the respective teams and the biases in between them. So we're going to go ahead and talk about why I'm going to break down 2 players, one offensive player, one defensive player. And we're going to talk about the Niners. We're also going to talk about the Las Vegas Raiders sitting there at number 83, because they also, again, don't hold a first-round pick. Sorry, 86. Did I say 83? I meant to say 86. What did 83 come in? I don't know. The 86th overall pick for the Las Vegas Raiders. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So let me just pull up the ticker here. David Orozco says, what's up, Beast? What's going on, David? Thank you so much for tuning in on Facebook. Do yourself a favor, subscribe to my YouTube channel in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. And the reason I say that is because anyone who subscribes to the BEASTwriter Plus newsletter, or also here on YouTube, you will be entered for our Family Friday giveaways, which I'll be giving away tomorrow. Tomorrow's Family Friday. I'll be giving away a gift. And it could be season tickets. It could be other swag. It could be something else you may like, which you will like because it's expensive gifts. Christopher, but thank you so much. Christopher Dubas says, elephant in the room, Deebo Samuel. Yeah, we're going to talk about Deebo Samuel. I tweeted some stuff out there. If you guys haven't heard the news in regards to Deebo Samuel, he literally, now I'm not sure if this is 110%, but I mean, there's a lot of media outlets that are posting it. Basically, he unfollowed the 49ers and then removed some posts regarding the 49ers. I don't know what was going on there. And so now people are saying, is he in a contract snag? Well, we talked about this. This is old news here in the BEASTwriter family. I even posted that up on Twitter, how I talked about Nick Bosa and Deebo Samuel, and how Deebo Samuel may be in a contract snag. Not saying he is, but I mean, it's kind of weird how you would just unfollow your employer. Like, why would you do that? Unless you're upset about something. It just makes no sense to hit the unfollow button, to take that extra step to hit the unfollow button for what? You know, for nothing? No, I don't know. I don't want to assume, but it's kind of weird. We're going to go ahead and talk about that. But let's go ahead and talk about the Las Vegas Raiders and what they're going to do at pick number 86. And then we're going to double down on those gains, talking about what the 49ers are going to do at number 61. So we're going to go in top down in reverse order. Okay, so right now sitting there at number 86, the Raiders have a lot of needs, right? You can adjust the offensive line, and if you guys remember, they got rid of a lot of players, right? You guys remember they got rid of Rodney Hudson, they got rid of Gabe Jackson, goes off to the Seattle Seahawks. So you lose 3/5 Trent Brown, right? So you lose 3/5 of your starting offensive line. All you have left is Colton Miller and a few other pieces, and you really have to solidify that front offensive line down in the trenches and build the team from the inside out. Luckily, GM Dave Ziegler's in town, and he's like, you know what? We're going to go ahead and do that because that's the Patriot way. Obviously, the Raider way. We're going to go ahead and do that. So, obviously, when you look at the needs for the Las Vegas Raiders, they have offensive tackle, offensive guard. They can use a center, defensive end, because if you remember, they're transitioning from a 34 base from a 4-3 front. So when you're looking at odd man front, the skill sets that you look for down linemen is a 2-gap space eater. And that's what you look for in a defensive end, because you want to make sure that his outside shoulder won't be covered up. He can anchor at the point of attack, and he can really open up linebackers you can really free up the linebackers, free up linebackers so they can go ahead and make plays basically untouched, right? And so those are the needs. Obviously, you can go with a boundary cornerback. They did get Rock Ya-Sin from the Indianapolis Colts in a trade that obviously they brought Yannick Ngakoue to Indianapolis because, again, he wasn't a good fit for a 3-4 outside linebacker position. And as you know, the Colts play in a 4-3 base, right? So, again, scheme fit does play into GM Chris Ballard's hand, and that's why he got Yannick Ngakoue in that deal. And so you team up with DeForest Buckner, Kwity Paye, and a few other pieces, and now you have something to work with, right, from a pass rushing standpoint. On the flip side of that, you look at the Las Vegas Raiders, and they get a guy who is Rock Ya-Sin, a former first-round pick. He still has the traits to be a solid NFL starter. Now, is he going to be a Pro Bowl talent? I don't think so. But again, time will tell in this new regime and under this new coaching staff. All right. So at pick number 86, those are your needs. I think that Myjai Sanders, right? And this kind of goes against conventional wisdom because you went ahead and you got a guy like Chandler Jones. You have Max Crosby. So you have our outside linebackers are set, pretty much set, right? They're not going to be going anywhere. They're going to get the majority lion's share of the playing time when it comes to snaps. But Myjai Sanders to me is a designated pass rusher, an instant plug and play from that standpoint. I graded him for the last 2 years. He had a very high grade last year, and then we went ahead and you transfer it to this year and he kind of slipped off, and it's basically his run fit integrity. And so that's why I think he's going to slip to the 3rd round. And aside from that, I already broke that down. If you want to see my take on the Alabama products and the Cincinnati products and the Georgia products, I went ahead and broke that down on a previous video. So just go ahead and type in Georgia BEASTwriter or Cincinnati BEASTwriter. You'll know everything I had to say in terms of my grades for Myjai Sanders, Sauce Gardner, Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis, Trayvon Walker, Quay, and so forth. So let's go ahead and talk about number 86 for the Las Vegas Raiders, why Myjai Sanders is a good fit, right? And again, the Raiders don't have a 1st-round pick because obviously, or 2nd-round pick for that matter, because they traded that draft capital to get Devontae Adams, which I would do in a heartbeat. It's the freaking Devontae Adams, reuniting him with Derek Carr, all right? So Myjai Sanders would be a good fit because he's tailor-made for a 34 base and a 3-point stance. I don't see Myjai Sanders being much of a pass rushing presence in a 4-3 defensive end position. So if you're looking at it from that standpoint, I would rather have Myjai Sanders in the 2-point stance screaming off the edge as hey man, you see the quarterback, get the quarterback. All right, and then you can kind of coach up the little minute details and run fit integrity and run fit discipline and so forth, and how to box and spill on the outside and flesh plays back inside to your help. All right, that can be coached up. But in all, you get a nice pass rushing presence, because one thing that Myjai Sanders, and what saves his BWF grade, is he can really rush the passer. So I really like Myjai Sanders. He's a developmental project in cleaning up run fit integrity. But at the end of the day, you're getting a guy who can rush the passer, and you can never have enough premium pass rushers. I mean, that's kind of, in today's NFL, if you had 7 passers, like, oh my gosh. Obviously that doesn't really happen, but this is my analysis on Myjai Sanders, right? If I look at my scouting notes, I say a huge liability versus run support. Sanders is by no means trustworthy to be an edge setter in the 43 base. making his scheme dependent in a 34 front. Too often times his outside shoulder gets covered up while not being able to hold his ground at point of attack or come off his stack. A huge gambler who often mistimes the snap count. If you watch game film, you know what I'm talking about. Sanders has been known to draw offside penalties 2 years running. All right, graded him over the last 2 years. He tries to diagnose and read his keys, but they're incorrect. All right, these are some things that you need to work on. His pass rush is what saves his BWF grade, and he does have a plethora of pass rush moves that will convert in the NFL. The problem he has comes down to disengaging once offensive tackles lock horns with him at the line of scrimmage, as his linear frame and lack of functional strength make it difficult for him to make something happen, as he's neutralized at the point of attack. And he mainly played the 5 tech at Cincinnati. All right, so that's what you have there. And that's why I like Myjai Sanders. I like Myjai Sanders. I think he's going to be a good fit for them. But at the end of the day, we really don't know how this is going to clean up, because Myjai Sanders is going to go somewhere, I think, maybe tail end day 2, top around 3. So to get him at number 86, I think that would be a good value for Myjai Sanders. And so that's why I think he would be a good pickup for the Las Vegas Raiders at number 86. And again, because at the end of the day, he can rush the passer. And who knows if Chandler Jones gets hurt, who knows what else happens. But that's what I like to see from Myjai Sanders going to a team like the Las Vegas Raiders, who can really use another pass rusher in a 34 base. If it's not Myjai Sanders, let's go ahead and talk about another product that I like from HBCU, right? South Carolina State. Let's talk about Jacoby Durant. I really like Jacoby Durant. Not the tallest, not the biggest, not the fastest guy, but Jacoby Durant, he's very fluid, very sound, very fundamentally sound, I should say, at the line of scrimmage. He stays square throughout. He can press, he can play off, he can play in the slot. I mean, the guy has the total package. I think he would be a nice fit for the Las Vegas Raiders in the 3rd round. Now, if you remember, again, I just talked about Rock Ya-Sin, and they have Nate Hobbs. I do like those guys, right? But again, you need more depth, and not just depth, not just naming players off a roster. You need good depth. It's solid depth. And I think Jacoby Durant would be a nice pickup in the 3rd round. Now, will he go that high? I don't know. But from what I've seen on game film, I like what I see from Jacoby Durant, and those are NFL traits that you can work with for the foreseeable future. So Jacoby Durant, to me, is a nice pickup. I think he would be a nice depth piece in round 3 and has a skill set to thrive. All right. Talking a lot here. All right. So what are you guys' thoughts on Jacoby Durant? You guys even know who this guy is? Like, who's Jacoby Durant? R.A. Ponte says, when and where does Jimmy go? That's a good question. Send me a super chat and super sticker. I'll be sure to answer that for you. I appreciate the love and support. But that's going to help me stay on topic, because I have to continue running my game grades and so forth, and obviously get to the BEASTwriter Plus newsletter. I got to write something up, as well as I'm personal training some people who I met on YouTube, who I met on social media, and I am helping them out with their fitness gains. So there's a lot on my plate right now. But yeah, if you have any questions regarding the 49ers, Raiders, any questions you may have regarding all things NFL, please send me a super chat and super sticker. It'd be greatly appreciated. Okay, so now that we're going to go ahead and move on, we're going to talk about the San Francisco 49ers and what they're going to do at pick number 61, right? What are the Niners going to do in the 2nd round, number 61 overall? Well, again, you have to look at the dynamics of what the other teams are doing. 8 teams hold multiple round 1 picks, all right? 8 teams. I don't even know the last time this has happened. 8 teams hold multiple that's crazy. That's crazy. And so you're going to see a lot of movement, I think, on draft day. I think you're going to see a lot of movement on draft day, especially day 1. And when you look at it, based on how draft position plays a role in 61, pick number 61, there's a couple players that I really like. All right, that I think would provide good value. The first one is, let's just shoot down the narrative that they're going to go after a defensive lineman. I don't know where that narrative is coming from, but it's totally a bad take. And the reason I say that is because they already signed Kerry Hyder Jr. They have Nick Bosa. You're going to shrink down Eric Armstead, kick him inside, right, to team up with Javon Kinlaw. So you're starting defensive lineman set. Why would you reach for a guy at number 61 who definitely wouldn't be able to get the lion's share of the reps anyways? Because, again, you invested a first-round pick, number 14 overall, to replace DeForest Buckner and Javon Kinlaw. So he has to show up at some point in time. And this is the year. This is the year he has to show up. My opinion, whatever. I thought he should have, whatever. check my beast receipts on that. But anyways, so I don't think they're going to go defensive line. All right, I don't know where that's coming from. I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to go offensive line. I think they're going to go after a guy like Bernard Ryman. Hopefully I pronounce his name right, from Central Michigan. Again, another Central Michigan product, just like Joe Staley, who also is a converted tight end now to offensive tackle. I think he would be a nice fit for Kyle Shanahan's zone blocking scheme. Why? Because one, he's a converted tight end, which means he can move in space. He can hit that second level. He's more of the athletic type of offensive lineman, lighter on his feet, quicker on his feet, can really, again, can kind of get outside, get upfield fast, right? It's not like an Aaron Banks, which I criticized in real time. But, oh no, Kyle Shanahan said this and John Lynch said this about him. Like, okay, watch him be a healthy scratch. Fast forward today, healthy scratch. All right, so Bernard Ryman, I like him. I think he'd be a nice pickup. But if not him, I would like them to see an outside linebacker, Nick Bonito from Oklahoma. I really like this guy. Now, you got to remember, GM Eric DeCosta has an affinity for Oklahoma products. Marquise Hollywood Brown, just to name a player, right, from Oklahoma that could be Perry and Winfrey, right? We don't know what he's doing. But I really like Nick Bonito as an outside linebacker because he really brings a pass rushing presence. But again, it comes down to his run fit integrity. Same thing with Myjai Sanders. And those things can get coached up. That's why I like Nick Bonito in the second round at pick number 61, because he can be a strong edge rushing presence there. And he's on the lighter side, right? He's on the lighter side. So right now, Todd McShay, if you look at his ESPN Plus mock draft, he has Nick Cross from Maryland. And this is what he said about that selection, because he has the San Francisco 49ers taking over Nick Cross from Maryland to replace the eventual Jimmy Ward, who's entering a contract year. He says, welcome to the draft, San Francisco. With Jimmy Ward entering the final year of his deal, the Niners might look to the secondary here at 6 foot, 212 pounds. Cross has great size, center fielder speed, and plenty of versatility. Well, I would consider that a reach. I don't think that you reach for a safety at 61 just because the guy's in the last year of his contract. You go BPA. And it's not what I would do. Again, it's what I think John Lynch would do. I think John Lynch would go BPA. I don't think he's going to reach for a safety. Well, he could, because he did it with Aaron Banks. No, I'm joking. I don't think he's going to make the same mistake twice. That's just me. So yeah, there you go there. And if it's not any one of those two guys, I'll be hopping on another live stream and talking about it. Jerry Yang says, Debo pulling a Kyler. Guess we are surprised because we assumed they were making room by trying to get rid of Jimmy G. Well, not here in the BWF, bro. I talked about this 2 months ago. I don't know if you caught the video on that, but I went ahead and put it up on my Twitter. I called this out 2 months ago. 2 months ago, I talked how Debo Samuel may be in a contract snag, and people were like, what are you talking about? I'm like, watch the video. Here we are today. Another beast receipt checks out. So it's not a surprise here in the BWF, because at the end of the day, I called it how I see it, and here we are today. Now, is that to say that Debo Samuel won't get extended? I think a deal has to get done. I mean, you cannot let that guy leave the building. Like, that's your best asset. Like, what are you doing? But then again, they did it with DeForest Buckner. And remember, in real time, my very first YouTube live stream, when I talked about DeForest Buckner and how that's going to impact the 49ers long term, and everyone's like, oh no, we're going to get Javon Kinlaw. This is before they drafted Javon Kinlaw, by the way. And I said, watch them. They're going to reach for Javon Kinlaw and hope that he eases the blow of losing DeForest Buckner. I said, you can't replicate that type of production. Boom, here we are today. And then Javon Kinlaw calls me his biggest inspiration, then deletes the tweet. I wonder why. All right, so it's the same type of deal. Here's a player entering the contract year in that rookie contract, and there's a contract snag. Now what? Because you have Debo Samuel coming up, you have Nick Bosa coming up, and then you have to prioritize somebody. So what's going to happen? I just don't see how you can let Debo Samuel walk, because at the end of the day, again, it's like Warren Buffett says, price is what you pay, value is what you get. And you get what you pay for, basically, right? You can't take the ideology that you're just going to draft players, hope that they become all-pro talent, and then once they want that second guaranteed contract with potentially a lot of guaranteed money up front, because you're not banking on future success, you're banking on what they did in the past, and all of a sudden you don't want to pay them. Of course they'd be upset. Wouldn't you be upset? I mean, that's like if Silicon Valley, layman terms, right? If you're number one in biotech sales and then you were on like a rookie deal or whatever, you're on a contract, and after that 2-year contract runs out, you try to negotiate at the table, and they're just like, nah, man, like, okay, we'll give you like a 10% rate. Like, no, man, I outperformed that contract. You're gonna have to pay me more. I don't know. That's just my take. But it is interesting. Now, I do think Deebo Samuel's gonna be re-signed, because how can you let that guy walk? But then again, we said the same thing about DeForest Buckner. That was all a shock to everybody. Tweeted that out. Put up a video about it, right? So, very first one, and people are like, oh, you know what you're talking about. I was like, okay, keep the beast receipts. Where are those guys? All I hear is crickets. So, another one for BEASTwriter. Christopher Dupas says, random, but would you trade Kittle to extend Deebo? No, I would not. I would not trade Kittle to extend Deebo. And the reason I say that is because George Kittle, just like Deebo Samuel, brings another added element to the running game. He's not just Travis Kelce, where he just runs routes, right? Because no offense to Travis Kelce, but he's not a very strong inline blocker coming out of Cincinnati. But if you're talking about the best all-around tight end in the game, you're talking about George Kittle. Why would you trade George Kittle just to extend another player who's unhappy when both those players are equally valuable to their team? If you remove George Kittle, then you're going to have Ross Dwelley come in, and that's basically a huge drop off in terms of taking away the seams, or if you're a defensive front seven player, because George Kittle can run the seam, he can block, he can do a lot of different things that a lot of times go unnoticed. Just having him on the field, you don't know what you're going to do. You don't even know if the play is going to be run in his direction or go across the grain, right? And there's a lot of shifting along, a lot of window shopping pre-snap, right? So I think you don't do that. If anyone's putting that out there, that's no. I would not trade George Kittle to extend Deebo. I think you just try to extend Deebo because you should extend Deebo without having to trade other valuable assets. Because if you kind of move, it's like a Ponzi scheme, right? You kind of take the money and you move it somewhere else. Well, someone else is going to be missing out. So it's kind of like, what the heck, dude? It doesn't make sense. So no, I would not do that. I don't think that's a smart play. But that's just me. I mean, who knows what John Lynch... Wouldn't surprise me, because John Lynch traded DeForest Buckner. That's all I got to say about that. Let me get to some of your questions here on Facebook. There's a lot of questions on Facebook. We have some Raider questions here. What is your take on Amik Robertson? I liked Amik Robertson coming out of college. I really did. I really liked Amik Robertson. I thought he brought a lot to the table. Now he's not the biggest guy. He's really short. I think he was listed at 5'8", 5'9". The guy's really small. Coming out of Louisiana Tech or whatever. I think it was a 4th round pick, right? By the Raiders, by Mike Mayock. But what draft was that? Was that 2020 or 2019? Anyways, I liked him. Unfortunately, he hasn't got the playing time. I mean, you have Nate Hobbs there. You now have Rock Ya-Sin there. Trayvon Mullen still there. So we're going to have to see how this one plays out. But I really like Amik Robertson. I think he can provide special teams value, if anything else. Like that. I like his fight. The guy can hit. All right. So let's get to another question. We get to some Twitter tips. We got some Twitter tips here. Let me just open this up. All right, so we got a Twitter tip. These Twitter tips are good. If you guys don't know what a Twitter tip is, basically I have my Venmo is linked on Twitter. So if you want to send me some support, some love, and have a question, you can do that on Twitter. All right, so what are your thoughts on the Raiders getting Davante Adams? Did they give up too much? Well, I don't think they gave up too much, because at the end of the day, you get what you wanted. And again, there's no guarantee that the 1st and 2nd round picks are going to pan out anyways, right? And depending on whether you're picking number 22 and in the 2nd round, whatever it was it 53 or something like that? I don't think it was a lopsided trade at all. In fact, I broke that down on the BEASTwriter Plus newsletter, which you can subscribe. It's kind of like The Athletic. It's a paid subscription, but if you want, just go ahead and subscribe to it. I broke it down on Davante Adams' trade value. In fact, I think that one is free. So if you guys want to know what I have to say, if I'm not on YouTube, odds are I'm just on the BEASTwriter Plus newsletter, and I'm just posting content out left and right, and it's long form articles. I talk about it in depth. I mean, you're looking at anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 to 2,000 word pieces. So really put a lot of thought process into each article. It's not just this 250, 300 word blurb and then I'm done with it. Like that, I feel like I could just tweet that in 140 characters. So that's what I like to do there. But BEASTwriter Plus newsletter talked about the Russell Wilson trade, talked about in the dynamics of that in Denver, talked about all the big time trades. Davante Adams, Tyreek Hill, talked about that one. So a lot of good stuff in there, and you can learn a lot. So I hope this is educational for you guys, because at the end of the day, I want you guys to get something out of it and learn from it, so you guys can formulate better analysis and your own opinion on what your thoughts are, right? Because everyone's entitled to their own opinion. So there you have it. All right, so let's see what else we got here. But no, Davante Adams, I think to double down on that, I think that Hunter Renfrow is going to greatly have a strong impact based on Davante Adams being there. And I think that's kind of common sense. But when you actually look at it for what it's worth, how can he not, right? If you looked at what Hunter Renfrow did, right? Who's Hunter Renfrow, right? He's a 2019 fifth round pick, I believe. I think he was drafted number 149. How do I remember that? I don't know. I think he was drafted number 149 out of Clemson. I think so. 2019 fifth round pick. Not the tallest guy. He's about 5'10", 185 pounds, 100 somewhere there, 184, 185. So he's not the biggest guy, but and not the fastest. He ran like a 4.59 40-yard dash, 4.6, right? So he's not the fastest guy, but he's very good at finding soft spots in zone coverage. He's a crisp, clean route runner. And just think of it. Davante Adams is going to garner all the attention from the single high safety. So if it's a single high look or a double look, Davante Adams being one of the best route runners in the game, the first thing he does is he knows the zone coverage before the ball is snapped. He's that smart. So he can kind of dictate the coverage how he sees fit, leaving other guys open. So he would get a lot of hype in my BWF grades and my mob stat, making others better, because Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller would benefit down the seams and finding those soft spots in zone coverage. So I think that Hunter Renfrow is quicker than fast off the line of scrimmage. I think he's a player that's going to benefit. Like I said, he went over 1,000 yards. Let me just look at it. I think he went over 1,000 yards, which was a career high for him in 2021. And let's see here. If I'm not mistaken. I don't know how I'm remembering this. Maybe because fantasy football. I don't know. Yeah, so he went 1,038 receiving yards, 9 touchdowns, 103 catches. In fact, when you then peel back layers of the onion to get to the core, he had a 50% first down catch rate. So that just goes to show you that he not only makes plays, but he extends drives. Right? He extends strides. He's very smart in knowing where the sticks are. And so if as a cornerback, if you're trying to protect the sticks, odds are Hunter Renfrow can beat you to the spot, because 50% of the time it goes for a first down. All right. So yeah, I like Hunter Renfrow. I like him a lot. And he's in a contract year. I believe Hunter Renfrow is in the contract year, being a 2019 fifth round pick. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I mean, I'm doing this live, so if I'm wrong, please correct me, so people don't watch this in hindsight and be like, "Oh, you were wrong." Daniel Jr. Middleton, my man, how you doing? Good evening to you as well. You're probably wondering, like, why am I on at 4:30 p.m.? Well, I like being on. No, I'm going to be hopping on more often. Again, I watch 60 to 70 hours of film. So when the draft rolls around, you guys know how accurate I am, how spot on I am. But it's not easy. Like, I don't go to sleep till, what time did I go to sleep last night? 4:30 a.m.? No, I take that back. 3:30 a.m.? I think 3:45 a.m. And then I woke up at, what time did I wake up today? I think today I woke up at 9:30, and then I hit the weights, and then here I am. So I look tired, but whatever. Daniel says, any time is a good time, brother. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate the love and support. I just think that there's a lot of stuff that we can discuss, right, when it comes to the Niners, the Raiders, or any other team. The one thing that is surprising me when I look at the mock drafts, because when it comes to Todd McShay, Mel Kiper, Daniel Jeremiah, Bucky Brooks, Charles Davis, guys like this, I really respect those guys, by the way. I know they get some of those guys, oh man, they suck, whatever. No, I mean, like, they're the standard, dude. They're the standard for a reason. There's a reason why they're on ESPN and NFL Network, and we're not. I mean, they're really good at their job. If they weren't, they wouldn't be in those positions. So I really respect them. Call me biased, but whatever. I like what they have to provide. Now, do I agree with everything? No. Do I agree with Todd McShay? And I tweeted this out, that the Jets are going to go after wide receiver Garrett Wilson, right? Why would you go after Garrett Wilson, a wide receiver in a top-heavy wide receiver draft class, which is one of the positional needs that's the cream of the crop? Again, you have to look at the vertical and horizontal board, and it's not based on what I would do or what you would do. It's based on what GM Joe Douglas would do, right? And I think if you're GM Joe Douglas coming from the Ravens tree, he's looking at it and he's playing that game, horizontal board versus vertical board. We have 2 top 10 picks, one at number 4, and I believe they hold the 10th pick overall, right? A pick right ahead of the Seattle Seahawks, who they can use a cornerback, right? DJ Reed goes to where? New York Jets, but then they also need a cornerback. So that's why I said that at 4, you want to go ahead and you have to know draft position. You have to understand that. So that's why at number 4, I say Sauce Gardner all day long, because he's not going to last till 10. I tell you what, if he's sitting there at 9, which I don't see it happening, but let's just say it happens, I can see a team like the Seattle Seahawks go ahead and nab him, even though they need an edge rusher. In fact, I don't think that if Kayvon Thibodeau somehow slides, I know he has a lot of teams have him mocked inside the top 5. I can see him actually slide. I still have Evan Neal, number 1, to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I talked about it earlier, how GM Trent Baalke likes to build a team from the inside out. He did it in 2010, traded up from 13 to 11 to get Anthony Davis with the Denver Broncos. And then he did that already having left tackle Joe Staley there, Pro Bowl left tackle Joe Staley there. And then at number 17, he went and got the throw in some more in Mike Iupati. So I see that same dynamic playing out in Jacksonville. I think they're going to go Evan Neal. I know they have Cam Robinson. They gave him the franchise tag. But at the end of the day, I see him doing that. I see him going that route, knowing Baalke the way I do. So I'm sticking with it for now. Things can change up leading to the draft. But I think Evan Neal is going to go 1 to the Jacksonville Jaguars, although Todd McShay has him at 9 to the Seattle Seahawks. Daniel Jr. Middleton, thank you so much for the super chat and super sticker. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you. He says, a lot of people are worried about Debo and the possibility of him being traded. Any quick thoughts? You just missed it, man. I just went on a rant about it. Just joking. It wasn't a rant. But I can go ahead and talk about it again because it's a hot topic and everybody wants to know what's going on with Debo Samuel. Look, it's interesting that he removed or unfollowed the 49ers and removed some posts of the 49ers. He may be upset. I talked about the contract snag 2 months ago. This is old news in the BWF. I strongly suggest you go ahead and watch that video. I put it up on Twitter for everyone to go ahead and see. I retweeted it from 2 months ago. So go ahead and see what I had to say about that, as well as Nick Bosa. So I broke that down brick by brick, what it's going to cost and why Debo Samuel may create a contract snag because he adds more than your average wide receiver in terms of skill set. He's not just a guy who runs down the field and catches balls, right? He can be a running back too. So I talked about it. This is what I think about Debo Samuel. I think he is worth top dollar. In fact, if he wants to be the highest paid receiver in the entire NFL, all right? If he wants to be the highest paid receiver in the entire NFL, at his age and with that type of production, why would you not give him that money? I mean, can you name a wide back? And he created the wide back, right? Yes, we have Cordell Patterson. We have other players that have done it in the past, but there's really no one like Debo Samuel. You take Debo Samuel out of that offense and you have a vastly different looking offense that's going to suffer. It's going to suffer. It's going to suffer because teams are going to know, hey, look, like they don't have their X factor anymore. And Debo Samuel's an X factor, Swiss Army knife, do it all. And you take him out of the picture. I don't know. It's not looking pretty. It's not looking pretty. So if John Lynch trades Debo Samuel, which I don't see it happening, but if he does, if he trades Debo Samuel and I tweeted this out on Twitter. So follow me on Twitter. I tweeted this out, but that would be the worst mistake that John Lynch has made since trading homegrown talent DeForest Buckner. And I talked about it, not throwing shade or trolling, but I tweeted it out. I don't care. I said, you know what? Like, if GM John Lynch trades Deebo Samuel, it's going to be and create a narrative that, hey, look, we can draft guys first, second round, and once they attain all-pro level accolades, we trade them, and then we can kind of replenish that talent through the draft. Like Javon Kinlaw, out to Forrest Buckner, and goes Javon Kinlaw. Could Deebo Samuel be out, and then they draft who? XYZ? Just to recoup a first-round pick. And you don't even know if these first-round picks are going to pan out. I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty accurate, but I don't know every single, this guy's going to be absolutely the best. This guy's going to be better than, I don't know. And again, it comes down to scheme fit. You don't know how the draft board's going to shake up either. So depending on where that first round pick in return, if you get a first round pick in return, which you probably will for a guy like Deebo Samuel, where does that fall in line? Like, let's look at the draft, right? So for instance, and this is what I do for my mock draft, I break it down brick by brick. I watch press conferences. I talk to people on these teams, scouts, and personnel people to kind of formulate my analysis in my mock drafts. But listen, let's say they wouldn't trade to an NFC team. That's just dumb. They wouldn't trade Deebo Samuel to like the Green Bay Packers. Like, even though they hold multiple first round picks, I don't see that happening. I think the Green Bay Packers I wouldn't be surprised they struck a deal for DK Metcalf. I know that sounds crazy, but I don't know. I don't see there's this bad blood between the Packers and Niners. I don't see that happening. If it did, and the Niners can land picks number 22 and 28 from the Green Bay Packers, then by all means do it, but I don't see that happening. So if you look at what the wide receiver needs are in round one, right? Because there's 8 teams that have multiple round one picks, right? You look at teams like the New York Giants, the Houston Texans, Detroit Lions, Philadelphia Eagles, New Orleans Saints, Green Bay Packers, Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, that's 8 teams right there. And so when you look at that, it's going to be a little different. It's going to be a little different because look at what's needed here. You have a team like the New York Giants. Could they possibly swing a deal for a guy like Deebo Samuel? Well, we already talked about Kenny Galladay. We all talked the signing. We all talked about they do have Kadarius Toney, who they got last year in the round one, and they also have Sterling Shepard, who I liked coming out of Oklahoma, but he's been injured a lot, and that's why they got Kenny Galladay last offseason. And so I believe they restructured Sterling Shepard's contract. I thought he might have been a cap casualty had they not done that, but I believe they did restructure his contract. And so when you look at that, it's going to be a little bit different in terms of. Gosh, I'm getting text message right here. Let me see if I have to go on. If you guys are not, I was supposed to go on Relevant app, on In the Huddle with my guys, and are we going to be hopping on today? Oh, never mind. Just joking. Okay, we're good. Just reading the text messages because I wasn't sure if I was supposed to go on. It's supposed to be at 5 p.m. It's supposed to be right now with Sean Salisbury, Randy Cross, Glenn Parker, and my man Tom McManus on In the Huddle. We're supposed to be talking football. We obviously would be talking basically this and more. Which is always good times. Ollie Bear, thank you so much for the love and support and the super chat and super sticker. I appreciate the love. He says, hey, Ryan, good to see you. I'm excited for your draft show. Mahalo and aloha. Thank you, Ollie. I appreciate it, man. You're awesome, dude. But yeah, as we talk about Deebo Samuel, so I can get back on track, you look at teams that really need wide receivers, right? Like the Minnesota Vikings, even though they have Adam Thielen and they have Justin Jefferson, they can use a wide receiver sitting there at number 12. But I think they're going to go, honestly, I think they're going to go edge. That's just my gut feeling as the draft board currently stands. But, we don't know how that one's going to play out. I see Jermaine Johnson actually being a nice fit for them in that 34 base as a standing 2-point stance outside linebacker. Because Danielle Hunter, as you know, got injured last year. And he was playing at an all-pro level in my grading system. But he got injured last year. And you can never have enough good pass rushers, right? So If you look at wide receivers, Houston Texans obviously just extended Brandon Cooks to a 2-year contract, so he's off the trade market. Philadelphia Eagles, I think they could use obviously a wide receiver. The Baltimore Ravens could use a wide receiver. The New Orleans Saints could use a wide receiver. I mean, and if you look at those teams, you're looking at picks 14, what, 14? No, 16, sorry, 16, 17, 18. And then you're looking at, again, the Philadelphia Eagles. So there's a lot of teams with multiple round one picks. If there was a deal to be made on draft day to get a guy like Deebo Samuel, you know how crazy that would be? That would be insane. Like, here we are, as you guys know, we do the live stream, 4-hour live stream, however long the draft is. What was it, 6 hours? I think I was on for like 6-7 hours. What was that, on day 2 or day 3? It's nuts. I don't know how I did that, but I did the whole entire draft, day 1, day 2, and day 3. And if that happens, I'm going to be like, whoa. I think everyone's going to be like, whoa, you trade Deebo Samuel for what? For what? Doesn't make any sense. So that's what I see. That's what I see there. But yeah, there's just a lot of different things that we can talk about in terms of my grading system. And people talk about my grading system, and people who don't know my grading system really don't know what it entails. But people who followed me and have subscribed to the BEASTwriter Plus newsletter, you guys know exactly what it entails. Gap integrity plays a role. Run fit integrity plays a role. Is it a split alignment type of a defense where they slant based defense one way? You have to know exactly the stunts and twists and what exactly is happening on pre-snap leverage to post-snap play. And that's just on any given play. So when you get the coach's film, and then you also have to run down the coverage and the cover shells, you can kind of pick. And again, this is kind of like hard work, but I mean, you're watching all 22 players. So that's what I see here. It's just really funny. When I see people, oh, you have a grading system, then laugh it off. I would always challenge these people to come on my show, and so we can kind of have a discussion on why you're LOLing, and or why you're saying, oh, it's not legit, because it is legit. In fact, if you go on Twitter, check out the Beast Receipts, it's pretty close to PFF, down to 1/10 of a point. So holla at your boy, Beast Receipts, check out. All right, so it's just funny how people can talk big game. And again, these people have no real avatar. So they're just hating. Like this guy right here on Facebook has no real avatar. So I can't take anyone without a real avatar picture seriously. He's probably just trolling anyway. So anybody can be a keyboard gangster. You know, type it. Keyboard gangster. That's what I call him. Keyboard gangster. Keep your AK-47 close to your chest, bro. On your keyboard. All right. So getting back to it though. There's a lot of stuff that we can talk about in terms of what the Raiders, Niners, Vikings, Patriots, Nakobe Dean, right? In my grading system, Nakobe Dean has been graded as my number 1 defensive player in this entire draft class. The only reason he's not graded as a top middle linebacker or top off-ball linebacker, if you will, is because he's 5'11", 229 pounds with a 31 7/8 arm length. That's it. That's the only reason. It has nothing to do with the game film. If you watch the game film, you can see him. He's the cleanest prospect that I graded. And again, if you guys want to see what I had to say about Nakobe Dean, subscribe to the BEASTwriter Plus newsletter, talked about it. Or you can see what I posted on YouTube on Georgia products. I graded every single pair of the Georgia products, top 5, and I ranked them as well. Cincinnati players, same thing, right? Myjai Sanders, Sauce Gardner, Kobe. So there's a lot of stuff that we can discuss, but I don't know why Nakobe Dean is not being talked about. I don't understand why he's dropping so fast. Like, just because he's 5'11", you're going to drop him. I mean, the same could be said of Chris Borland. Remember when Chris Borland came out in 2014? And for those who followed me that back then, and I put out a tweet and I put out an article, I said, the Niners are going to be drafting Chris Borland. And people were laughing, oh, he's short, he's this, he's that, he's coming out of Wisconsin, we have Patrick Willis, we have Navarro Bowman. It's like, okay, I'm pretty confident that he's a scheme fit, and they're going to take him in the 3rd round if he's there, 3rd, 4th, whatever round, right? Boom, they went in and got him. And so From that point on, Chris Borland, if you guys know the backstory, called me Nostradamus, but then he called me BEASTwriter because I was known as BEASTwriter. He calls me BEASTwriter for predicting him to go to the San Francisco 49ers. And then we had that good working relationship from that point on. But Chris Borland, I think he ran like a 4.7 40-yard dash. But the guy was very instinctive pre-snap. That allowed him to make plays sideline to sideline because he was always in position. He was never out of position. So you can win with instincts, and if you don't have the speed, you can kind of make up for it by being a film junkie. So you got to look at it for what it really is. Luckily for Nakobe Dean, what I see on film, I see a 4.48 to a 4.51 type of a player, 40-yard dash guy. A guy who has like possibly like a 35.5 to 37-inch vertical jump. A guy who has probably 126-inch broad jump, right? So you see the explosiveness in his game. And again, all this checks out when you grade the film, when you watch every single snap played. And that's exactly what I do when it comes to Kobe Dean. And it's mind-boggling to me how he's not the number one ranked linebacker, inside linebacker even, right? Devin Lloyd, who I really like, graded every single snap of Devin Lloyd. I like what he brings to the table, but I mean, did he play in a better conference? No, like that's number one. Number two, I just like the NFL traits that Nakobe Dean brings to the table. I think he's a better blitzer. I think he's a better all-around player in terms of being a curl flat, curl hook defender as an underneath defender. So when you put that into account and take that into account, and then you also look at a sideline to sideline presence and that 4.48, 4.51 speed, it translates. Those are things that I like. Non-stop motor, very smart, film junkie, gets his teammates lined up. And you can make the argument, oh, well, he was on a stacked defensive line or defensive front. Like he had Devontae Wyatt there, he had Jordan Davis there, he had Trayvon Walker there. Hey, every good national championship team has round one talent everywhere. They have round one talent everywhere. So to say that he only benefited because of other talented players, no, the same could be said of Trayvon Walker. But yet he's being mocked in the top 5 because of his projection and what he can do. He can play the piano along the line. He's not scheme dependent. He's scheme diverse, can play in a 34 front or a 43 base. And this is why guys like Trayvon Walker are going to get drafted high. And he ran what, a 4.51 40-yard dash? A guy with that size, what was he, six off the top of my head, what is it, 6'5", 272 or something like that? Something crazy, right? So a guy with those types of movement skills laterally, right? You talk about lateral agility, and you talk about a guy who can really hold his ground at the point of attack and not get moved off his grass. You're looking at a guy who can be a tone setter and edge setter. In fact, in my grading system, he didn't give up one run fit integrity assignment. Not one. Compared to a guy like Myjai Sanders, who obviously plays as a 34 outside linebacker, a little bit lighter on his feet. Maybe he is scheme dependent, had 19 missed run fit assignments in my grading system in 2021. And then if you want to take that and find someone in the middle, then you look at a guy like DeMarvin Leal from Texas A&M. I really like DeMarvin Leal, one of the cleanest prospects in this draft class. Kind of reminds me of a young Cam Jordan, if you will. I have him currently mocked to the New Orleans Saints. I like DeMarvin Leal. And again, although he played defensive end, I can see him being shrunk down in a 4-3 defensive tackle as a 3-tech. All right, so, but he can also play in a 34 base as a 4-tech. Two gapping, right? Because his outside shoulders isn't covered up much. So again, these are things that you look for, and he understands box to spill. Again, a lot of game film. We can talk about any player you want. Defensive players, offensive players. I mean, Jameson Williams still my number 1 ranked wide receiver, but I do like Garrett Wilson. I like Drake London. Drake London's route running can be kind of, it's kind of choppy. But again, he's not going to have that second gear. But I like what I see from Drake London. I mean, the guy can find the soft spots in zone coverage. He's a bigger wide receiver. Garrett Wilson, to me, would be the clear-cut number 1 wide receiver off the board, because if it wasn't for Jameson Williams' torn ACL, I think it'd be Jameson Williams, obviously, because he has returnability. Had him mocked to the Kansas City Chiefs earlier, and Todd McShay said that's going to happen. Echoed my analysis and then put up his mock draft recently, and in a trade-up, he has a Kansas City Chiefs taking him. I think it was like number 17 or something, but you have a very deep wide receiver draft class. Johan Dotson, I like him. The guy's good. The guy is not the biggest, not the strongest, but he's freaking good. A lot of Penn State wide receivers over the years. Allen Robinson. I remember watching Allen Robinson, and I thought that the Niners would be high on his list. But yeah, I'm excited for the draft as well, man. But thank you so much, Ollie Bear, for the super chat and super sticker. Appreciate the love. If you feel the vibe to send me a super chat and super sticker, please feel free to do so. And again, we're going to go ahead and keep this 100 all day, every day, and just talk football. Talk the Raiders, talk Niners, Patriots. A team like Nakobe Dean, I can see a team like the Baltimore Ravens taking a flyer on Nakobe Dean because I think that's just too good a value. But if you see a guy like nose tackle Jordan Davis sitting there, do you go with a nose tackle, or do you even go after a guy like Tyler Linderbaum? I don't know why too many people are not talking about enough about Tyler Linderbaum. Maybe because he's a center, not a premium position, like nose tackle, like Jordan Davis, right? These are not premium positions. But in the AFC North, they'd be a perfect fit. In fact, Mike Tomlin says if Jordan Davis falls to them, which he doesn't think it will, that'd be a player that they would be highly coveted, right? And I know they need a quarterback, but they have Mitch Trubisky there. This is not really a strong quarterback draft class. It's kind of like known. But there's going to be a team that always reaches for me, diminishing the value of picks, and better players are going to fall down the board, which now you're going to see some movement. Maybe if you're looking at it and you're a GM and you're looking at that vertical board and you see the tiers and you're like, man, this is not a very top heavy draft class in terms of XYZ. Let's just pull the trigger and get this guy because the value is too good to pass up on, and we will yield a day 2 pick in order to get the guy that we always wanted and to have him here sitting there. Let's just go ahead and do it. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. There'll be like 3 teams that are going to strike deals. And a lot of players are going to be pushed down the board. A lot of better players are going to be pushed down the board because these quarterbacks are going to be pushed up the board. It happens every single year. Every single year. So I can see like Nakobe Dean going to a team like the Baltimore Ravens possibly. Maybe the Dallas Cowboys. Just joking. I don't see him going to the Dallas Cowboys at all. But a team like the New England Patriots can use him. I think the Patriots can get the best out of a guy like Nakobe Dean. I think he'd be a good fit with Bill Belichick. So a lot of guys we can talk about. I am going to do some work on How do you pronounce his name? George Karlaftis. Is that how you say his name? George Karlaftis. And it's funny, I was watching an NFL Network and they said that scouts were comparing Ken to Ryan Kerrigan because he played at Purdue. Funny that he said that because weeks before that, I tweeted that Aiden Hutchinson reminded me of Ryan Kerrigan, and that's not a shot at Aiden Hutchinson at all. I liked Ryan Kerrigan coming out. In fact, what was he, a 4-time Pro Bowler, and he led the NFL in forced fumbles one year. So Ryan Kerrigan's the real deal. I like him. Again, not scheme dependent. He's very scheme diverse. Can play in a 34 base in a 2-point stance or 4-3 front as a defensive end. But yeah. All right, I think that's going to wrap it up for here. I hope I answered your question. I know I had to come on and talk about Deebo Samuel. Thank you, everyone, for your super chat and super stickers. Really appreciate the love and support. Brandon Cassels from YouTube says, who is your favorite safety in this draft? Well, that, without question, is going to be Kyle Hamilton. Hamilton. I can't talk. Bleh. Kyle Hamilton from Notre Dame. Now, he's a traditional strong safety, box safety. I graded every single snap of him in 2021. So I see a traditional box safety. I talked about Kyle Hamilton in earlier live streams, but to me, he's a box safety. Like, he gets eaten up way too easily when he goes up against slot wide receivers. Just turn on the film. And even if the ball doesn't go in his direction like it should have, like, he gets beat a lot. Now, his instincts, as with Borland, is what makes him a very, very smart, instinctive football player. So he ran what, a 4.6, 4.7 40-yard dash. What was it? 4.6 40-yard dash, 4.59. So that translates. That's what I see on film. But his instincts make him look like a 4.45 guy, or a 4.5 guy, I should say. Not 4.45, a 4.5 guy. 4.5, maybe 4.52, because its instincts are there. But at the end of the day, I see a traditional strong safety. If you try to have him line up against a Tyreek Hill, well, that's kind of like unfair. But like, let's say, I don't know, Emmanuel Sanders or something like that, like, he's going to get eaten alive. That's just my opinion. Yeah. All right, so Cam Ferrison, my man from Hofstra, the Hofstra product. Beast, what's good? You getting ready for any shows? Any shows? Like the BWF show? No. Right now, I'm just. I know I look big. I know I posted some stuff on Twitter, and people are saying, "When's your next show? When's your next show?" Nah, man, I'm right now. I'm just kind of coasting right now. Still dealing with some injuries, so I don't know when I'm going to be ready. In fact, usually I would do a show right now. Right now would be Governor's Cup in Sacramento. So I would actually be wrapping up my show. It would have been last week actually, or this past weekend. So I'm gonna take a wait and see approach. I'm still dealing with a torn rotator cuff, still dealing with a bad back, and we're just gonna take it one day at a time. But yeah, thank you so much, everyone, again for tuning into this live stream. I hope you had a lot of fun. I know I did. If you liked what you had to say, please hit the subscribe button, spread the word, retweet this, share, like. I know some of you guys are struggling right now, and you can't send me a super chat or super sticker, which is fine. Totally cool, man. Just hit the like button, smash that like button, drop me a comment. It would help me a lot in terms of the algorithm, in terms of engagement, so YouTube knows like, hey, this is good quality stuff. And let me know what your thoughts are, because I'd like to get back to you guys on the next live stream. Thank you so much. I appreciate the. Oh, he says if you can do the Emerald Cup next year. You know what? The Emerald Cup is something that I would consider doing. I know the people who run the show. That would be interesting. I got to get ready though, man. I'm not ready yet. I'm not. It's more mental than it is physical. It's more mental. It really is. The physical part's fine. Getting big, getting shredded, that's easy. That's the easy part for me. The hard part is the mental aspect of it, like getting mentally prepared. It's as much mental as it is physical, kind of like football. So yeah, mentally, I'm just not in it right now. But I will be at some point. I know everyone's itching for me to hop on stage. I know, I know. But anyways, thank you so much, everyone. I had fun. Take care. BEASTwriter out.